ladies in the middle. Checks back against Carter and scores. That is atypical for the Myanmar goal.
Quickly gets it back again. Oh, what a goal! Well, that sums up her season. The Gunners are WSL champions.
Welcome back, everybody, to a VAW Pod WSL preview. That's right, WSL, because the WSL is back. It's finally back. It's been too long. We've had some pre-qualifiers for the Europe, but we now have the WSL proper, and we'll be previewing. I think what we can agree, arguably, is the biggest game of the weekend. It's a contest between two titans of the Women's Super League. So Spurs versus Crystal Palace, a mouth-watering clash between two. No, I'm joking, of course, no. This is, of course, the Arsenal versus Manchester City preview. I've been looking forward to this one for so much. A game that's long overdue to be played at Emirates Stadium, massive crowds, lots of fans. It's going to be brilliant. And there's obviously a bit of rivalry on the pitch as well with some returning heroes, and that's where the pod's going to start. But first of all, should, of course, introduce my co-conspirators, which, of course, are the lovely Lottie and that magnificent Matt in a brand new hat. Lottie, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. A bit deflated after Arsenal for the last 2 days, but we go again on Sunday back to back. Let's go.
Absolutely. Matt, how are you, folk? How are you faring?
Yeah, not too bad. For those that were wondering, the usual Arsenal cap I couldn't find, so I've had to don me Arsenal Euros cap, which I wore for that lovely photo that Lottie took in that final, where
I hate to upset you, Matt, but you ain't got it on in that picture.
No, you haven't.
You really don't.
It's a shame. It's a shame, but I wore it throughout the Euros and it brought a little bit of luck. So
it certainly worked, and I always say that Euros the best summer of my life ever. And I wish if I could go back to any summer, it'd be that and just live it again, just the whole lot. Of course, this time though, I am not alone. We have brought in a special guest all the way from the sky blue of Manchester. It is, of course, the super cool Caroline Sherratt. Caroline, welcome back. You're back for a second VAW pod with us.
I am. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. Like I said, we do these things. I do a big, in-depth interview. What was your story? But we don't need to know your story because you've told us. This is your second run through, and looking forward to picking apart another Arsenal versus Manchester City game. But we start, of course, with the icebreaker, a nice opening question. And the opening question is about returning heroes because it may have escaped everyone's notice, but there was a transfer over the summer where an Arsenal player went to play for Manchester City, and that is, of course, Vivian Miedema. So with that in mind, what has been your favourite returning hero moment for your team when a player has come back, either re-signed for your club or is now playing for the opposition, but has come back to a hero's welcome? Lottie, I'm going to give you a first dibs on this one.
I'm going to say Jordan Nobbs.
Oh, jolly
Jordan
good.
Nobbs. I was sitting behind the Villa bench for that one, and a certain someone on this pod did something with the supporters club for Jordan. But I'll let him tell that story.
Yes, Matt. Okay, that's a good one, actually. Matt, I'll hand over to you because I believe you're in a picture, aren't you, with Jordan Nobbs and Vic Akers? Is that right?
yes, and you know what? I was actually probably going to say Vic Akers. Actually, just to sort of summarise the story, is that I was with the supporters club board. I was helping them out, and one of the things that we wanted to do was to commemorate both Jordan and Vic Akers' time at the club. So we gave them honorary badges and memberships for the supporters club. And it was against Chelsea in January. I remember that because it was one of your favourite moments of that season, Lottie, was you shouting at Emma Hayes to get back in the box.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed that, and she turned around to look for me once they scored. It was quite funny. She was scowling, and we were all sitting there just laughing our heads off. Because there was people in that were behind the home bench that started joining in. It was just fun, like, because at this point the game had gone stagnant, and I thought, do you know what, I'm gonna have some fun here. And me sitting next to Melissa, I can't help myself.
it's one of those though that you're next to people and it might not be a great game, but it's the memories that you make throughout it, through friends and things like that, which I think summarise just what women's football is about.
Absolutely. From the half of Manchester side of the argument, Manchester City side of the argument, Caroline, is there a player who's come back on, who's got a hero's welcome at the Academy Stadium or at the Etihad, if it was there as well?
I have two, but I'm going to go with the Arsenal link. I think, unfortunately, it was during COVID, but it was when she got such a good reception on like Twitter and social media.
I know who it is.
When Jen came back after her
Yes.
cancer diagnosis, and I think just everything surrounding that, I can't not pick that.
No, that was the one I was sort of going to go for. I meant it from the other side of the coin, but I've been going through some old Arsenal games and clips and found the one of that particular game, obviously with the Caroline Weir late winner. But there's a really nice moment at the beginning where the commentators, I think it was Adam Summerton, saying that BT's with friends at the moment. It was just herself for a cancer diagnosis. Really sort of really special moment. Sadly for us, but obviously great for you. It went to the blue half of Manchester City. So moving on from that, we will preview the game, but there were some games played midweek, some European games. Arsenal and Manchester City were in action. Contrasting fortunes for our side, sadly. BK Häcken triumphed 1-0 over Arsenal, whereas Manchester City had a easier run of things, running out 5-0 winners away at Paris FC. So we'll go to Manchester City first. Omens weren't good going into this one, I'll be honest, Caroline, because as Arsenal fans, we know Paris FC. We know they're a bit of a banana skin. They knocked us out. They knocked Wolfsburg out last season. And then, of course, you went into the game without one of your strikers. What happened?
Yeah, for some bizarre reason. I mean, there's a few contrasting opinions about what actually happened on social media, but it seems that somehow Bunny's visa application either wasn't made or in time, so she couldn't actually travel with the team.
So what it did mean, of course, is that Vivian Miedemar started, and she basically began the destruction of Paris with a superb sort of scissor volley, I think is the only way to describe it. It was a fantastic bit of technique. Jess Park with a very nice sort of 1-2 movement in the box to tuck home. Very sort of, where I compare it, was a goal that was in rounds recently from the Arsenal men's side of when Thomas Rosicky scored against Sunderland, the way they sort of worked the ball through the defence, and then just in this case it was Jess Parker tucked it away. Mary Fowler taking advantage of a howler, and then Park with a tap in, and then Kelly tapping into an open goal. I think it was Hemp who just hit the post. Mm-hmm. Thoughts on the game, Caroline?
I mean, like you said, we've seen what Paris did last season, and I think that was from our side certainly it was the one we didn't want. Going through the list of who we could have got, it was definitely like the top one, and actually they were once we got into it, once we got Viv's goal and then very quickly Jess's, the defense kind of fell apart, and then all the mistakes they made in the second half, it was just surprisingly easy.
No, I was angry. I didn't watch the game live. Obviously, we were watching our own game, but I've seen the goals back, and having suffered Paris FC last season, the fury I felt watching the keeper get the ball taken off her toes by great opportunities by Fowler, we should say, great from that perspective, but thinking, why didn't we get this Paris FC last season? This is ridiculous. So I would assume, obviously, the second leg still to come, but we know that this has been a hurdle that Manchester City really struggled to get past those qualification rounds. I mean, I'm not going to say nothing if it was guaranteed, but a 5-0 win going into a home game against Paris FC. Have you got your passport ready already for this one?
Yes, I think it'd be very hard for them to turn it around and put 6 past us. Mm-hmm. Saying it's not going to happen, but no. I think from what we've seen from the first leg, I think we are pretty much guaranteed a spot in the group stages.
And if that happens, will you be going abroad to watch Manchester City tour Europe for the first time? I think since I want to say 2019. I think it was the last time you were.
Yeah.
But obviously they never group stage then, but beyond qualifiers sort of thing?
We'll see.
We'll see, absolutely. On the other side of that, obviously, it was Arsenal, BK Häcken. Didn't go so well for us. A 1-0 defeat away in Sweden. Tabitha Tindell dinking the ball over Manu Zinsberger. We hit the crossbar twice for Rosa and Frida. Mead had a really well saved by the keeper with her head, but we were quite lucky it wasn't 2-0. Larissa rounded Manu, but hit the side netting. Now, Lottie, I know you caught it on the highlights. Matt, did you watch the game live as I did?
I didn't. I was training, so I had to watch everything back.
Yeah.
But it was one of those games where you're thinking that it's very similar to last season, where it's very open first 45 minutes, but no one scored. So you're thinking, okay, you just need to get an early one in the first half and settle down. And it didn't happen. And it's a big worry going into the weekend, and I wouldn't talk about that, but for these to have those opportunities and not to take them, I think there was 4 of them hit the woodwork or something.
Frida and Rosa hit the crossbar, and I think we had some other opportunities saved.
I think it was like 14 attempts and only 6 of them were on target, so that just tells you the story of the game. I think this is going to be one of those ones where Jonas has to put his hands up and say it didn't work, and he should have gone with a full squad instead of going for the sort of semi-rotated squad as he did. But I imagine that the team have to pick themselves up as well. Kim Little spoke really well to Goon fanzine, which Freddie did really well with. If anyone's caught that, it's actually on his social that he's spoken to Kim. Kim's really come out and said how upset the team were with the result and what they have to do and how they have to. It's going to be a big week now, and how they have to push themselves up from this defeat. Yeah.
Lottie, do you have any post Häcken concerns? You're on mute, Lottie.
Sorry, that was a double mute. I think the real question is, has anything actually changed from last season at this point?
Yes, that is.
You didn't need to change something that weren't broke. Yeah. Should have left it as it was.
Yeah. And
this isn't exactly the time to experiment. If you're going to experiment, you should be doing it against Chelsea in the US.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The games at Meadow Park, there was no problems. Why did you change it?
I agree, and we did the predicted lineups. Now there were some changes to the team, which I do understand. Leah's topped out because there was an injury concern, so Lotta came in. Fair enough.
That I get, but there's nothing wrong with Caitlin Ford. I know Beth needs minutes, but there's nothing wrong with Caitlin Ford.
My biggest issue was the fact that Rosa started instead of Frida. I know Rosa's a really popular player. On the fact we all really excited for her, and she did hit the bar in the first half. But people say, well, that's why she should have started, because she was such a threat. But the problem is that she hit the bar in the first half, and the chance she had, she should have scored.
The 2 decent chances we had, if we were going to score, those would have been it.
Yeah.
There was nothing else in that game.
No.
Frida's last in a lot of the. Yeah. She had 2 last attempts, and you're thinking if she hits that anywhere else, especially that header.
Yeah.
And that's 1-1, and then to return to Meadow Park was at least something to fight for.
Jonas did his press conference today. I'm recording, so that would be obviously on the Friday. And he was asked obviously about the Häcken game and spoke about it's a step back, and he's talking low blocks is really becoming his sort of kryptonite here, and there are obviously big concerns about this, and we were seeing maybe some positive signs in those qualifiers. But he raised an interesting point, which I kind of think works against him, because he said, well, you see our front attack, they haven't played any minutes together. So I was thinking, yes, Jonas, they haven't, which is why you shouldn't have played that front attack. You should have played with what you knew, as Lottie was saying. Frida has played with that attack. They are more aware of each other, and you saw that a lot in the first half. I found anyway, when the attacks were coming forward, there was a bit of confusion when you got to the penalty box. I remember Rosa picking up the ball, and you want Rosa to make that attacking pass, but she doesn't know where her teammates are. And we can see from obviously on the TV screens, you can see, oh, Mead's free over there, you should pass to Mead. But she doesn't know Mead's there. She's not in sync with the team. And that really impacts us in the first half. And there were some silly shots that we should have scored better. Mariona hit one over the bar. She should have scored with that. And Lottie's right. It's the sense of deja vu is so strong of a team that is doing all right up until the final third and then doing nothing. Talking with people last night, I was thinking, if I have concerns that that's still happening, and Jonas has made a big thing about we had a pre-season, so we're all prepared. We've been to the States, really hard pre-season. We're so prepared for this, and then you get to the first leg and that happens. And I just think the pressure, we're going to talk about this weekend, is going to be big. We need a response. But the pressure is even more on the home leg on Thursday night. He has to win. Arsenal have to win that game and go through. If that doesn't happen, then I do not know what is going to happen, but it's not going to be pretty. And then unfortunately, I think that's on him. I think he got the team picked wrong. My worry is that he picked Rosa because she knows Heck and she's played at that stadium. She knows the team, and I think if that's the reason you're picking for a player, that's wrong. But we'll see what happens on Thursday. So a bit of a hill to climb. It's not game over. It's only one goal. Arsenal can turn it around, and if they do, we won't care about what happened. But is a concern. We will navigate to more positive positive waters, shall we say, which is of course the game at the weekend. So, Caroline, last season, it's 89 minutes on the clock. Manchester City are 1 goal up at home to Arsenal. The title's in the bag. It's over. What happened?
I honestly don't know. I've kind of just forgotten about it because,
For those that don't know, this was the game where Stina scored 2 goals out of nowhere. We scored from a set piece, which was weird because we never score from set pieces. And then seconds later, because a draw would have been fine. A draw, you would have been sorted. And I was thinking, draw would be great, a nice confidence booster. And then out of nowhere, Kim Little dinks the ball in the box. Stina is free in the box and nods it past the keeper. And we've discussed this off air, but there's a half of me which is like, yes, fantastic. We've won away at Manchester City. That never happens. And we think, oh no, we've just now gifted Emma Hayes the title. I mean, as the fan base, were you confident that you were going to win the league when you got that close? Or was you always worried that the rug was going to get pulled out from under you?
I think quietly confident. We knew that goal difference would be a big thing, and that we perhaps hadn't got enough. The fact that Chelsea were away at United on the last day was always in the back of our minds because it could have gone either way.
It's a weird. What's the weirdest still is I think Chelsea played Bristol City the same day. It was an evening kickoff. So even despite the defeat, you were still ahead on the goal difference, and I think they won. I think it was 8-0. I think it was, and then the next game they won 6-0 away at Manchester United and just completely flipped the goal difference in 2 games, which is just bonkers. I really did feel for you for that one. Obviously, this was the game you previewed with us. I predicted a 2-1 win because these games always finish 2-1. I didn't predict it would go that way, and it was obviously fantastic for us. It's the league double over Manchester City. I don't think we've ever done that. That's a first WSL for us. I think that was potentially our first ever a double over Manchester City. But it's time, I suppose. This is the weekend where you can right that wrong, I guess, and get one back over us at our ground. So we will pick over some of the past contests. So this is an open little trivia question for the 3 of you. Who scored the winner the last time Manchester City won away at Arsenal in the league when fans were allowed in the ground? It's a little trivia question. The silence is of 3 people desperately.
If you didn't know COVID, I had it.
Well, I know that's the thing because obviously, COVID. Who was it in COVID? So just say to give you a chance to. Ellen got the opener.
Well, you might as well just erase me because I wasn't watching then.
So Ellen got the opener, Ford got the equaliser, and then Lauren Hemp at the back stick thumped home the header. It was a certain Jane Ross. Jane Ross got the winner, deflecting in Steph Houghton's free kick for a 1-0 win. And that was at Meadow Park back in 2016 when I believe Manchester City actually won the league that season. Since then, it's not really been a happy hunting ground, although, of course, you did win in the FA Cup. I still say that Cara Keating carried the ball over the line, but we won't dwell on such things. So that was obviously back in 2016, and obviously the COVID game in 2021. Now this is the first time this fixture will be played at Emirates Stadium, so one assumes there'll be no more Meadow Parks for Man City in the league. And this has always been a weird one because we've had Chelsea, we've had Spurs, we've had Manchester United, we've had Liverpool, we've had Leicester City even the other season, last season.
Villa.
And Villa, absolutely. We finally have Manchester City.
Leicester have never played at the Emirates. This season's the first time they're coming.
Last game of the
Leicester
season.
were last season.
No, sorry, Brighton was the last game of the season, wasn't it?
Yeah, Leicester were at Emirates last season. They're not in this season.
Never mind. Ignore me. Sorry.
Yeah. How excited are you, Caroline, for an Emirates Stadium WSL match?
I'm actually very excited. It's a new ground for me as well, so I'm actually quite looking forward to it.
Absolutely, I think we all are. We'll get on to obviously some of the bits around the game itself, but I did just on that one. So this is the first time you've been to Emirates Stadium. As an away fan though, how special is it to have it there, and also with the big attendances that it's notorious for?
Well, I think you guys have proved that it works having them there, and you can always hear it on the telly. You guys always have like a great atmosphere, and you're really loud, and I think to be able to go and experience that is actually going to be really nice. I mean, it might be a bit intimidating at some point.
Do you have any idea how big the away support is going to be from the Manchester City perspective? Because no game is complete without away support, and I imagine because you came down for the games at Meadow Park as well. Yeah. So is it going to be a big following coming down down the M6?
I don't know if we put on one or two blocks that we sold. It might have just been one. But I think there'll be a fair few. I'm not sure numbers wise.
We will talk about Arsenal, but obviously, as you are here, Caroline, it would be rude of us not to talk about Manchester City, and there is much to talk about. And we must address the elephant in the room, the Dutch elephant in the room. That is, of course, Vivianne Miedema. You have a new striker now that us Arsenal fans know very well. How was it when you first found out that Vivianne Miedema was going to be a Manchester City player? What were your thoughts?
Well, we'd had rumours, and like before the end of the season had started, and I think so. Then we were just waiting, and then I think when we saw the teaser video that morning, we were all kind of just like this massive sigh of relief that we were like, oh, it's finally done, and like it's sorted, because we were waiting for what seemed like forever. Was
this the video with the dog?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was just massive sigh of relief, and we're just really looking forward to seeing her play.
I think us Arsenal fans were relieved as well, but for different reasons. I think we were glad it was over, just because we're just glad the saga's over, because it's just been a storm cloud that's existed over us for the whole summer. But Viv is a striker. Now she's wearing, is it the number 6? If that's right, which is a curious choice for a forward. Now we know obviously she played as a 9. Most of them, certainly under Joe Montemurro's tenure, was moved more as a 10 under Jonas Eidevall. Is she going back to being a striker? Is she going to compete with Bunny Shaw, do you reckon, with Manchester City? Or is she going to be dropping deep and assisting Shaw maybe as a 10?
I think there's the potential to do both. Obviously, when Jill's back, then there's the potential to play both of them together, and possibly Bunny as well. But then obviously you bring like Mary into the mix. So I think depending on, hopefully he uses his rotation well. So we may see, like the Paris game, we may see her take that place from Bunny. But we never know with Gareth. So
Gareth Taylor rotating.
I know. Yeah.
I mean, give him a screwdriver and a nut, and he's still confused by it. He doesn't know what a rotate is. But do you think he'll try and maybe play her as much as possible? I can't see Viv warming the bench, shall we say, with the talents that she has.
No, I don't think so. I think he'll try and use her as much as possible, because why wouldn't you?
Is there a quick worry about there's too much attacking prowess now? The fact you've got Kelly, Hemp, Fowler, Russo. Sorry, not Russo. I'm thinking of Halo Russo that used to play.
Who's now at Spurs?
Yes, sorry. My head's in the clouds. Viv and obviously Bunny Shaw now, and there's I previously mentioned it that Yui's essentially the only defensive midfielder player. Even if you include Jill Ward in that, there's another attacking player in there. Is there still that balance that needs to be worked out?
I think so, because I think the one glaring omission from the people we brought in was somebody to rotate with Yui, because I looked it up and she played. She started every league game. I wrote it down somewhere.
It feels like she plays every league game. It is pretty much every, because she's such a player for Manchester City. She's incredible, but it just feels like
every league game, featured in all but one across every competition, and like she's going to be exhausted if we do it again. And so that's the biggest thing. There's several people that I know were like, why have we not done this? There was one game, the Leicester game we played in Perth. I think he did try Laura Blinkilde as that sort of role, and I don't know whether that will stick. And then that he uses her instead of Yui, but yeah, that's the one thing that's missing, I think.
You raised a good point about Yui. Just on a bit of a side tangent, but there was a big transfer, obviously rumour, but about Kira Walsh. Obviously, Kira Walsh was obviously a star for Manchester City before she went to Barcelona, and there were strong hints, rumours, etc., that she was potentially Arsenal going to try and sign her in the summer. It didn't happen. She's now staying at Barcelona until the end of her contract next summer. But what would have been if Arsenal had pulled that off and we got hold of Kira Walsh? I mean, would you have been happy to see him back in the league, or would there have been an element of regret that you hadn't managed to get her back? Because I know she was such a key player for Manchester City during Nick Cushing's time.
I was actually thinking about this the other day. When the rumours intensified towards the end of the window, I was thinking, personally for me, I was quite calm about it. Whether if it had happened and I'd seen her in like the shirt and everything, whether my opinion would have changed. But when there was those strong rumours there, I was personally I was okay with it.
The rumours are that she will see out her contract at Barcelona at the end of the season, at which point she's a free agent and anyone could go for her. Would you want Manchester City to try and bring her back, or has Yui sort of stolen your heart in that heart of the midfield and think, no, she's our defensive midfielder now?
Yeah, I think it's part of that. I don't necessarily always agree with players coming back because it doesn't necessarily, it might not work as well. I think Lucy is a good example of that.
Lucy Bronze.
Yes. And so we know how good Yui is, and she has really, like you said, captured our hearts. So I think if the opportunity arose and we did want Kira back, I think I'd been caught in two minds about it.
Well, moving around with the attack, midfield to say, one player I didn't want to talk about because she scored a brace midweek, Jess Park. Matt knows Jess Park very well because she was alone at Everton. She sort of burst onto the scene in sort of the tail end of last season. I remember she had a really good game away at Chelsea. I always suspect that she's going to start against Arsenal. Is this going to be the big season for Jess Park, do you reckon?
I think so. I think like the Everton loan did her so much good, and she started to show that potential last season. And obviously she's had that full season with us under her belt now, so I think she's already shown at the end of last season that she's kicking on, and I think she started to show that again now. So I think she's going to really impress this season.
I mean, are we talking 10 goals, I reckon, for Park? I mean, the first goal she scored, I said that the way that moved through defence and the finish was very, very good. I mean, should she be becoming an England starter at this point, do you reckon?
I think she deserves the chance, because if she doesn't get to show it, then she's not gonna
do it.
Yeah, so I think she could arguably get into double figures for her goals this season.
One Manchester City player who is a starter for England is, of course, Alex Greenwood. And she is your new captain. Steph Houghton has left, legend of the game, has retired, is now doing a podcast with Ian Wright. She's moving into our territory. But Alex Greenwood, captain, thoughts?
Natural progression. Like, she would have been the only choice. Obviously, she was essentially that role because she started so many games last season. And Steph wasn't involved in as many, and I think overall, like, we're so happy that Alex is captain because she shows so many of those qualities. She's obviously been United captain with when they won the championship. She's I think she captained Liverpool as well.
She's done it. Well, she's done Everton. She was at Everton.
Yeah.
You're saying she's done Liverpool, and now she's done Manchester. She's done the 4 big ones up in the Midlands. I mean, she's very experienced. Greenwood, been a long time, and I think she should be a really good captain as well. I think, was this announced in the Gareth's press conference today?
Before.
Any interesting stuff come out of the presser at all?
Not really. He confirmed the leadership group, which is obviously Alex's captain. So Jill, Bunny, Laura Coombs, Lauren Hemp, and Lyra Alexandri are all within that group. And then
quite a big group.
It is quite a big group. But I'm not surprised by any of that. I think they all work really well, and I think they're good picks. I'm guessing that the players will have chosen that within themselves. So obviously, it's nice that your peers have chosen that. And then the other big thing is Jill will be back within the next week to 10 days.
Oh, fantastic! I mean, we as Arsenal fans, we've been through that journey with many players, and we've got another one on the go now, sadly, with Victoria Palova. So fantastic that Jill is on the mend, because, like I said, very talented player for Man City and for the Netherlands, and it'd be great to see her back playing football again. One thing I do want to run by you is something that came out over the summer. It's a bit of an obscure one. Manchester City Twitter, or X as it's known now. Now, Manchester City, as people know, have tried a very unique way of sort of promoting the teams by having the men and the women on the one account. But then on match days, they just use the women's account for like updates. But all the things like news and transfers and all the stuff around the club was solely on the main Manchester City account. And then this summer, they've said, no, we're going to align with everybody else. And then Manchester City women will just be for the Manchester City women and Manchester City men with the Manchester City men. Now, is that the right move, do you think, for the club? Or was it a nice idea that didn't work? What was your, are you going to notice anything different now with the way they're setting things up?
Well, I think when we did have one originally, and obviously when they decided to do the big merge together, obviously we got rid of that. So, and I feel like obviously you get all the silly comments under all the girls' news and stuff, and it just felt like we were lacking content, and because since we've had it, we've had so much more. And they've had so much more engagement, and you see how everybody else's social media platforms, within the league, or even abroad with Barcelona, it works so well for them. And we're really missing that, and hopefully now it gets the word out a bit more, and it is solely based on us, and we can get so much more content.
I mean, it's one of those things when they start doing it, you think that's quite a clever idea. It makes sense. They can almost piggyback the men's football sort of attraction that account has to sort of draw in fans for the women's game. But no, I think they probably learned that it's not necessarily we want to get men's football fans into women's games. Women's games has its own culture, its own sort of subculture, if you will, and that needs its own space and its own place to thrive. And I think it's great that Man City have sort of fallen in line. I think it was admirable of them to try this, because you find out if something works unless you try. But I think the look at Arsenal social media and the women's stuff that comes out on the women's Twitter feed is fantastic, and it's brilliant because it's its own bubble. So like I said, fair play to Man City. They've moved in line and I'm producing great content by the sound of things. Just to wrap up on that, your predicted lineup, which will obviously be 100% inaccurate, but we'll give it a go. None of our lineups ever correlate to reality. So if you could pick the Manchester City 11 for the day, what would you go for?
If I could pick it, or what I think it's going to be.
Well, why not have both? What should they pick?
Personally, for me at the minute, I think that we should be starting Yamashita. She's really, since she's come in, she's really grown on all of us, and I think she's shown how quickly she's integrated with the game in Australia that she played, and then Paris in midweek. So for me, I would pick her this weekend, but I think you probably will go with Kiara.
Wow, the idea that Kiara could be benched so quickly after. I mean, I haven't even mentioned the fact that Ellie Roebuck's gone. I mean, but yes. So you think Keating bench and Yamashita will be the number one, and then the rest of the team then.
So Kirsten Kasparov, Laia Alexandri, Alex Greenwood, and Layla Javi across the back.
Yeah.
Kasagawa, Park. It's a bit of a toss-up for the other place in midfield because I don't think starting Viv is the right move.
Oh.
No, not from like a tactical point of view, from how she's feeling and she played 75 minutes in midweek, and we don't want to rush into it because yes, she's back, she's fit, but we want to get it right. At least that's what I feel like anyway. So I honestly don't know who would fill that other space. Possibly Laura Coombs, but she didn't go on the Australia trip. She played limited minutes in the last pre-season game, and then I think about 10 minutes in midweek. So I don't know whether she's up to then starting fitness. So I think it's possibly a toss-up between Laura Blinkilde and Mary Fowler, but I'd probably go Mary.
Yeah, I would too. Yeah.
And then your front three of Hemp, Bonnie and Kelly.
Well, it is the Manchester City trademark front three. You did raise something. We are going to move on to Arsenal, but I just want to raise it because you did just bring it up about Viv and obviously the injury nightmare she suffered in the last two seasons at Arsenal. And you said we want to bring her back, keep her fit, obviously. Is there any concerns that after she had all those setbacks from Raciel last season, are there any concerns that might spill into this season and she might, spend a lot of time on treatment table? Or are you confident that we should see the Viv of old going forward into the new season, which I think we all want to see?
I think I'm confident that we've got it right with our ACL management. Of course, Viv is a bit different because she did other things and she had more surgeries, but I feel like with how quickly we've got Jill back, how quickly Stanley's been running back on a pitch, I feel like we can get it right with Viv and hopefully she'll be problem free.
Excellent. Well, excellent. It's really good news because obviously Arsenal fans, I mean, she no longer plays for us, but as fans, a lot of love for Viv, and it was sad that we were almost robbed of those 2 years because of what happened to her. And if she can find that fire again, albeit playing for somebody else, then that's fantastic news for her. We will now move over to the red half of North London, which is, of course, Arsenal. And there was a quick bit of news. We should have a massive congratulations to Amanda Ilestead. Congratulations on the birth of a beautiful, beautiful baby. And for those who haven't seen the pictures, very adorable. I think we can all agree. And Jonas has spoken about this in the press conference. And I think she, as keen as she is, Mila, the child, we should say. Jonas says that Amanda is very keen to come back to play football, but obviously the priority is Amanda and Mila, and wishing them a fantastic few weeks as they bring the lovely child home, and basically, wish them all the best. As for the team that will be available, obviously, one thing we have just talked about Viv, but we have to look at the other side, which is Lottie. How are we going to deal with Viv? And I say that not just as a team, as a players, but as fans as well. How are we going to deal with the fact that we're going to be watching Viv in a sky blue shirt attacking our defence this time?
I absolutely have no idea because she's going to know that back line inside out. I don't know what else I can say on that subject.
But that is the challenge, isn't it?
She's going to be the key to our undoing. That's it. End of story for me. As much as I'm going to be happy to see her playing football again, it's just in the wrong colours for me.
But you could also argue that the defence would know how to deal with Viv because they've played with her all this time.
Yeah, but I have a feeling she's going to be on a revenge tour this season.
anything that
especially after Paris FC, and I'm sitting here eating humble pie after what I've said on the last 2 pods. I am eating humble pie and I am enjoying it.
You've been eating a lot of humble pie. Well, first Caitlin Ford, and now Paris FC. I mean,
I need to learn to keep my mouth shut. Do you know what I mean?
It's got like bakery going or something at this rate. Matt, the Vivian Miedema comeback starts at Arsenal. What are your thoughts on like I said, Viv coming back? Are you confident that we can keep her out, or is just the narrative's just going to write themselves and she's going to score a hat trick? And
I think it's going to be difficult because sometimes you get those players that will come back to haunt you. It's happened a couple of times to different teams. I wouldn't be surprised if it does happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if, say, one of the midfielders, whether it's it might be Kyra, might be asked to man mark, or Kim, or whoever else in the midfield, someone's going to be asked to mark her tightly so that she can't get that space and be free as often on the ball if she is starting, or if she does come on off the bench. I think that will be Jonas's plan B. I think if she does come on, she's most likely going to score. I think we all sort of know that. I think a lot of people have put her down, especially on the fantasy football, to score some goal or get something, and someone get the big points for her on that. And I think it's going to be an interesting one as well. I think this one's, you can't get a better welcome back than at a stadium that's at the current moment, is it just over 40,000?
Yeah, that's going to be the next point. But yes, the attendance so far is reported at 40,000.
Yeah, you can't get a bigger welcome back than that, and she is I think she deserves it, to be honest.
No, I do hope she gets a hero's welcome from the crowd. Respect. We spoke about back when Yen BT and Jordan Nobbs. I hope that the crowd. I know that she's going to be a key player for the opposition, but the crowd at least just respect her on her return, and she deserve it, because I don't think
anyone that does boo her, they need to be leaving that stadium. She's done so much for her. It's her choice to leave. Also, the clubs, just let it go. It's not worth holding on to. I know there's a lot of people who are not happy with Jonas, but it's a two-way decision.
Yeah, absolutely. It's purely mutual. There was not any desire to stay or on one side and desire to leave. It was a purely amicable departure. And we should say, Viv, we also would have had some of the success, I think, of the WSL title, and there was like the Conti Cup before that, or League Cup before that, as we say now. That wouldn't have happened without Miedema. She was very, very crucial to some trophies that we secured a few years ago, and that should not be forgotten.
I think the clean break is needed as well.
Absolutely. As for the game match, you mentioned that attendances, it was reported about 40,000 tickets been sold. I think Arsenal just confirmed that 40,000 tickets sold so far. Still tickets available. So if you're listening to this and the game hasn't happened yet, do make sure you get one. I don't think we're going to hit the magical 60 like we did with the Spurs and Manchester United games last season, but I think that is still a pretty good attendance. However, this is a summer where the Lionesses did not play a major tournament, which is quite a weird one because we obviously had the World Cup and then the Euros before on the 2 seasons. So we could potentially see, because the Lionesses didn't imprint themselves into the public culture, so we say, in imagination, because they weren't on display over the summer, we might see a drop off in attendances. And I look over to, and Caroline will enjoy this, Manchester United hosting West Ham United at Old Trafford, with so far tickets sold of 12,000. Just as a comparison, Matt, are you concerned at all that we might actually see the attendances start tailing off because the Lionesses didn't play a tournament this summer?
I think this is a major point, is that it's being consistent. We've also got a new league, I don't know what you want to call it, sponsor, owner, operator, however you want to put it. So this is also, how do they see things going further forward? How do they keep the marketing and how do they keep getting people going to these sort of games? And I'm going to be honest, when it comes to Manchester United, a lot of the time there isn't very many crowds. When I went to the Everton game a couple of years ago, that was pre-Euros, there was about 20,000. I think that was quite a high attendance that day. It might have been just under. But every time there seems to be a game at Old Trafford, they don't really get the numbers that they get at Lay Sports Village, which is a bit unusual. But I think when it comes to the Etihad, it's actually a lot different. I think there's higher numbers. Is that right, Caroline?
Yeah, we had 44,000 odd in for the derby.
So right there, the capacity is twice over for Man City. So there is for a game, just a one-off at Manchester City. Is there any other games going to be at the Etihad this season, or is it just the Manchester derby at the moment?
No, Spurs and Chelsea as well.
Okay,
but not Arsenal. The slander, the disrespect. How dare they? Outrageous.
It's about that opportunity, isn't it?
I think also with Man United, it's all right, no worries. I think also with United, you've got to remember their main selling point is their Lionesses. That's all they've got. They don't advertise whoever else they've got. And you look at their team. There are some big names in there, but they're not recognised unless they're a Lioness because of the way their marketing team did everything. Russo was their start. They sold on the Russo and Ella, like whole relationship. Hype. That's the word. And now that Russo's come to us for free, they don't have anything. They've got Ella Toon, and Ella Toon's not happy.
Yeah, and now
I can see that she's not happy, but.
And now Mary Earps and Katie Zellem have both gone. I don't know if, by the way, I don't know if I've caught this, but obviously PSG played Juventus in the Champions League qualifiers midweek. Mary Earps obviously in goal for PSG, and Juventus won 3-1. So that's one to look out for. I do think it's a shame because Manchester United in Old Trafford. I mean, people say what they like about Old Trafford, but it's an iconic stadium. It kicked off the Euros in 2022. It's a stadium that should be filling out. Obviously, West Ham is it's not a big clash like R1 is going to be at the weekend, but you should be getting more than 12,000 fans in. I think what this does show is with Arsenal, because they've invested so much whilst the attendance figures, shall we say, were inflated because of the Lionesses. Now that they've sort of evened off, we've got a pretty good baseline of 40,000. And it should be said, obviously, there's a game happening at the Etihad on the same day that involves Arsenal, and that also may have taken away some of the fans. I mean, that's pretty poor schedule, I'd say, on the on the Super League's front. But what's new?
Yeah, but Sky are making double bubble. With Arsenal and City are on TV all day, so the people who don't go, they watch both games on TV. It's a money maker for the TV companies. Let's be serious. They don't care about the fans.
No, they don't.
If I say this in men's ponds all the time, it same applies to the women's game as well. TV companies do not care. Full stop.
Sadly, that's absolutely true. Absolutely true. Sadly, I will come to this one, Lottie. Then, so obviously we know what happened last season. Opening game of the season, we're all very excited. We flock into Emirates Stadium, and it's a bit of a damp squib against a low block. Thankfully, we haven't seen that since. But Jonas against the bigger teams has always done well. He's won every time he's played Manchester City at home in the league. Just caveat that in that right framework. Just because, obviously lost games elsewhere.
I like the way you've worded that.
Yeah, at home in the league, it's been, sorry, Caroline, 5-0, 2-1, 2-1. So this is a game that he knows he can win, albeit it's at Emirates Stadium. Last season, we started badly and it massively impacted us. We dropped 5 points in our first two games. It took us a while to get going. How important is it for us to hit the ground running? And it's against a team that isn't going to be low blocking against us.
I think we're going to find a new fire in the system somewhere. I mean, we didn't absolutely get battered by BK Harkin, but there's going to be, if you've read Kim's interview in the Gooner by Freddie, you'll know how upset they are, and that should be the motivation for Sunday. I mean, Man City are coming in on a high. We're coming in from a low, and it's not the fact that we're because we're not at Meadow Park. I don't know what way this is going to go, and that's my issue. Although it's our carpet after Liverpool last season.
Yeah.
I don't know where this is going.
I can understand if we're at Meadow Park, you back us to win.
Oh, 100%. That's comfortable. I've seen it enough. Yeah. We've seen like previous season. We've seen Sabrina D'Angelo keep Bunny Shaw quiet, and I've loved every moment of it. But Kira Keaton couldn't keep out Bettina Blackstenius. So it's the Emirates, and it's that first game hoodoo sort of thing. And it's like, we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, I'm hoping it goes like the Chelsea game from a few years ago when we won it 3-2, because that was a thrilling game and obviously went our way. But although Chelsea really did win the league that season, you did actually mention a key player. I did want to just come back on this one, Caroline. Stina Blackstenius. I'm just like,
are you gonna? Do you know what? I'm still kind of angry at her, but I'm really happy with her at the same time from that game from last season.
But
I just can't. It's such a weird feeling.
In all likelihood, she's going to be on the bench. She'll be coming off the bench because that seems what she always does. And when the clock hits 90, I think she scored 3 goals in like the added time against Manchester City, and obviously scored the winner in the League Cup the season before. Is she like a bogey striker? Like we had Russo until we signed her, but like is she like the one player you would fear in this Arsenal team that she's going to get one over you again? Again?
I don't know. I mean, she showed what she can do in that annoying game. So
Which one?
There's the potential that it could happen again.
Yes. I do think that it will be Stina off the bench again. I mean, we'll take that line. We'll go straight into predicted lineups. We'll do the split we did last time. So as host, I'm going to take a pick on the goalkeeper and just say Manu. It's not nice when the boot's on the other foot, Lottie, is it?
Yeah, you're going to give me up tough, aren't you? I thought
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Just don't forget you've got the midfield, yeah?
Yeah, go on, Matt. You choose the defence.
I think left back kick is going to be Katie. That's just because Steph's still not available.
No.
For those that are wondering, we still don't have Lena either.
No.
But centre back, I think Leah's going to play.
Yeah.
And Leia's going to play. It'll be interesting to see how Leia copes, especially because, unfortunately, some of the defending that happened against Hacken, it wasn't great. It wasn't her best, but hopefully she learns from that. Right, but I think it's going to have to be Emily Fox. As much as I love Laura Weinreuther, it's just, unfortunately, I think she's just getting back into post ACL, and we might see the best of her January or onwards.
I think midfield wise, it's interesting. Obviously, Kim Little will start, but it's obviously Kyra's been playing in that midfield. She's been playing very well in those qualifiers. But you've still got Leah Velti on the bench. I know she's come back from the MCL, but Leah Velti is her quality. Do you go for experience on this game? You know, we talk about playing what you know. And I just think it's Manchester City. I think you might bring Leah Velti in, and maybe bring Cara back in for the Hecken game. And I think he'll probably stick to what he knows. I think, but then Cara could have an amazing game. But I think it's going to be Velti and Little. And so, Lottie, I give you the rest of the team.
Oh, do you know what? This is really easy. I put Frida Marnham in that 10.
Yeah.
Mariona on the left.
Yeah.
Beth Mead on the right and Russo up top.
Yeah.
Nice and easy.
Nice and easy.
Because we know Beth Mead likes a goal on opening day of the season.
You weren't tempted by Ford at all on the right
flank?
Was,
but I just feel like Mead needs to start, but it's probably more than likely in reality going to be Caitlin Ford on the left, which I've actually kind of enjoyed her being there because that left side really on the right. You know what I mean? Like how many times have we been out and I've gone the wrong way when you said one direction and I've gone the other? Exactly. So with Ford on the right, I've enjoyed having that release on the left of Katie and Mariona, because those crosses that are coming in, she can't be dropped at the minute from that left hand side. She just can't.
Absolutely not. I mean, against Hecken, those crosses
does come back in. Ford's not getting the sniff.
No, I mean, actually, Mariona against Hecken, some of the best opportunities we did have came from Mariona crossing the ball in from that left flank, and I think that is the player I'm looking forward to watching against Manchester City. We've seen her play against Rangers and Rosenborg, but I want to see her play against
the big guns.
A big guns. I mean, Chelsea, we got a cameo.
No disrespect to BK Haken, they're one of the top sides over in Sweden, but domestically, we're a different kettle of fish.
Absolutely, and I can't wait to see Mariona play. No, not tempted to keep with Rosa in the 10. Stick with Frida.
Yeah, stick with Frida.
Stick with
Frida, because I know if I say Rosa's not going to start.
You're still waiting for Rosa.
Look at the last lineup. I went with Frida, and Rosa started. So the plan is working. Let's just go with that.
So yeah, well, hopefully you do get your first experience of Rosa Kafaji ball. You will not be disappointed.
Oh yeah, we're behind the home bench, aren't we? So it's exciting times.
Yeah, absolutely. Block 2. If you want to see the Vic Akers on show, Vic Akers Wonderland. I assume Vic Akers is going to be there, maybe in the stands. But if you want to see the Vic Akers Wonderland crew, do come over to Block 2, and we'll give you a wave. Before we wrap up, just a quick shout out for the scores, your score predictions. Caroline, as the guest, I'll give you first dibs.
I think after our strong performance midweek, I'm tempted. I don't want to clean sheet. That's the thing. I don't want to I had written down 3-0, but I'm tempted to change it to 3-1.
3-0. Wow. Okay. All right. Well, obvious question: is Viv going to be one of those goal scorers?
You know what? I'm going to say yeah.
I hope so.
Is she going to be?
Captain this week?
Is she going to be? Is it going to be a Viv hat trick?
No.
No. Okay. Whatever. She just have a tendency to score those. So you think Viv's going to score, and it's going to be is it going to go 3-0 or 3-1?
3-1, I think.
3-1. Okay. Matt.
I'm going to go City. Going to win this 1-2-1.
Ooh.
Wow. I just think that it will be a panic ball last 10 minutes. Someone's 1-0 up, and Viv's going to score one, and then just either City's going to score a last minute load, and it all goes heads up.
So you're basically playing an Uno reverse for what happened at the Joy Stadium last season. That basically we're going to be winning 1-0, everything's going to be fine and dandy, and then Viv's going to get a late brace in added time and flip the game.
Just on how it happened against Hacken, I feel like we're very kind of vulnerable at the counter attack at the moment. And if Leia has the same game that she had against Hacken as she does against City and doesn't learn from those lessons, I think that will be our undoing, and it won't be very pretty and for a lot of fans.
Lottie, a score prediction from yourself?
I'm going to go for a 3-2.
Oh, really?
To Arsenal.
Really?
And
okay.
I'm going to have Stina score that last goal just to bury the hatchet. Just to make me feel better.
Well, I've studied I've studied the track record of this fixture, and all I can say is 2-1 Arsenal. Just because that's generally how it goes. But I think 2-1.
You were going to go for a Desmond then.
No, 2-1. No, but Viv to score, but it'd be 2-1. And I think if Viv scored, but it was inconsequential to the result in terms of an Arsenal perspective, I think everybody would be quite happy with that, and there'd be Arsenal fans going, "See, we won 3-0," and that's how they'll sort of brush it off. But that's it. That's the end of the preview. Very excited for the coming weekend. All that leaves me to do is to get people to tell me, where can we find you in the wild west of social media? Caroline, where can we find you?
I am both on Instagram and X/Twitter. Caroline Jessie S.
Excellent. Matt, where can we find you?
When I'm not unmuted myself, you can find me at Matalar28 on Twitter.
Lovely. Lottie, where can we find you? And where can we find the podcast as well?
Oh, you can find the pod on at VAW Pod on Instagram. That's where you'll usually find me running all our wonderful graphics. Or you can find me at Lottie_AWC on Twitter and on Instagram.
Excellent. And you can find me at Adam_Salter4 on Twitter /X, and you can find me on Instagram and Threads at Adam_Salter. I can't remember if I've got a number on the end or not. I don't use it as often as I should. And if you are wanting to follow all things Arsenal women footage from the past, I mentioned that game against Manchester City. If you want to watch that again, probably more if you're a Manchester City fan than an Arsenal fan, you can find it at the AW Archive. Plenty more clips coming up throughout the year. Do give a follow. You will not be disappointed. But that's it. That's the end of the preview. It's all on now. The WSL is finally back. It's been a while. Can't wait to watch all of you chaps over the weekend. And I hope those listening and watching will be there as well to enjoy it with us. Just leaves me to say, come on, you Gunners.